Hi everybody. To start off this week, I'm going to go ahead and finish up our scheduler. So if you remember from last week, we went ahead and started implementing our login process and the ability for students to go in and actually set up their schedule. So we log in, we have a list of courses, and then we would choose from this list add course, and by choosing that, it would add it to the bulleted list on the right hand side. So the functionality to add a course was there. Managing this list of course requests was not. We just kind of set it up as a bulleted list. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and finish this out. So first thing we will do is we'll go ahead and stop debugging. And we're going to be working within the schedule controller, so we don't need much of anything else besides that. Let me go ahead and collapse my outlines. And we're going to be working within the remove request. Now, if you remember from last week, what we did is we went ahead and set up a couple of actions that return partial views inside of our index view. So if we jump into that view, you'll see that we have two actions here. We have get all courses, which represents the left-hand side of the course list, and then we have get course selector, which shows all of the courses that I as a user can access once I've logged in and then selected of course. Now the get course selector, the functionality is we grab the active student and then we grab the course requests for that student, and then we send those to the partial view, in which the partial view then renders out our list. Now the partial view currently is just doing a for each loop, listing each course by name. We want to kind of extend this and give it more, a better look and a little better functionality. So I'm going to start out by doing a table, border 0, and then we'll do table row, and inside of this table row we're going to have 3 cells. We'll have the course name, the course time, and then a button to remove that course request. So we'll go ahead and move this up here, and that'll be the name. We'll actually go ahead and do a table header as well. And this will be name. This will be time. And this will be our remove. So we'll have HTML.display for M, and then we're our item. So we actually need to grab our for each loop, and we'll loop and we'll create a new row for every iteration of the loop. So we'll say M where item dot course dot meeting time dot to short time string. And then the last thing we'll do here is HTML dot, and we'll do action link. And we'll do an action link that says remove course, and we'll call the action remove request, passing in the course ID. So we'll call remove request, and then we'll add route values, and our route value will be the course ID, and we'll set that equal to item.id. Alright, and we're getting an error from this extension, and it doesn't like that we're calling a method, so we actually don't have to use the extension. We'll just go ahead and call item.course.meetingtime dot to short time string. So that'll give us the data that we need, and we can get rid of this unordered list, and we'll do a save, and then we'll go ahead and run again, and we'll go to our scheduler index, and we get an output of the name. The time is coming across as a literal string, so we'll have to look back at that, and then we have links to remove the course requests. So, we deleted our @ symbol, so let's go ahead and add that. We'll resave. There's no need to recompile. We should be able to just simply refresh, and upon the refresh, we get an updated listing, which now includes the time. Now, let's make our table look a little better. We'll add the class equals table, and we'll go ahead and add a title tag. Let's see what title tag we used in our index view. We have an H2 that simply says index, and that's up here at the top. So we'll do an H3 over here that says courses selected. And what we can also do here is we'll set the width of this to be 100%, which will just give us a little bit more spacing. So if we come back, F5 again. So now this says courses selected. There's a small typo there. So there's courses selected. And now we have our tables essentially set to the way we want them. We can do additional adjustments here. We can add some cell padding to our main table. We can add an H3 here that says available courses. And we can just simply say this is the scheduler. So just adding some additional aesthetics and functionality to our application. So now that we have this, we should be able to come over here and we'll click on remove course. And I want to verify before we do that that we actually have functionality written in the remove course or remove request action. And we do. And we also have it redirecting back to the index, which means that it will cause the page to reload after navigating. So let's go ahead and remove English 9. That makes a call back to our action. The action removes the course, and then we get a refresh of this page. So we can remove Math 10 just the same way. So what's happening here, if we look at the additional details, is that we're getting an error that says there's already an open data reader associated with this command, which must first be closed. What this means is that we're attempting to establish two connections to the database at the same time, which in this case we actually are, because first we're up here on line 96, we're attempting to grab a course from the database, and then further down on 104 and 105 we're attempting to grab all the courses from the course selector and then determine, of all those courses, where is the one that we've chosen to delete. Now this is causing two calls to the database to happen simultaneously, so there's a few options we have. The first option is that we can force a disconnected instance, and that requires a fairly significant amount of code to accomplish. The second option we have is if we go into our Solution Explorer and we go to our web config where we set up our connection string. In our case, ours is right here. We can add one additional line, which is to enable what's referred to as MARS, or multiple active result sets. By enabling this, we're allowing the entity framework to make multiple calls simultaneously to the database and telling it that this database essentially supports that type of functionality. So if we go ahead and refresh our view here, we should be able to click on the remove course link now. And the second error is due to the item not being found. So let's do a little bit of digging here and see if we can figure out what's going on. So what's happened is that we're passing the course ID into our remove request action, and we're checking on course ID. But what we're doing on the other side is that item refers to the course selector item. So I said item.id, so I'm actually passing the ID of the course selector item not the course itself. So there's two ways to handle this. We can refactor the request, or the remove request action, to take the course selector item ID, or we can simply say in this line here, item.course underscore ID, and that will pass the course ID itself. So I think that'll be a simpler approach. And by making the change here in the view, we don't actually need to recompile. So we'll just run again. And we'll call the index. And now we can click remove course. And we'll go ahead and continue running. And that selection was removed successfully. So we should be able to click again, remove, remove, and now we are able to remove all requests from our course selector. So a couple twists and turns there in this lecture, going through some of the different pieces of functionality and having to enable other pieces as we work through our data. But now we have the ability to add a course, or two, or three, or four, and then the ability to go in and remove those courses as well. So that will be it for this particular lecture segment. Next, we will get into the setting up of the managers area as part of our use case scenarios.